Definitely didn't think we'd be here doing this today, but hello and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo. To my right, it is the one and only Uncle Sam.
Hello. Happy Martin Luther King Day.
To my left, it's none other than our very own Mr. Zolo, Mike Palazzolo.
Hello.
Behind the computer, still scraping off crusted goo from Saturday, Bruce the Tugboat Venditti.
Hello. I don't know if my mic's working or not. So.
Is your camera working?
That's good, yeah.
Is your camera working?
Come on.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't seen your picture yet.
Yeah, we haven't popped up.
I don't know if my mic's working. So
I didn't see it pop up. Did you?
A lot of people told me that my mic wasn't working. So
All you're worried about is the mic.
yeah.
If Bruce's mic is working, let us know in the chat because that's the type of day it is today. That's the kind of Monday it is today. Yeah, Uncle Sam, happy Inauguration Day.
Yes. Very happy. Thank you.
I see you representing great today.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know what today. Like I've been thinking about this for 48 hours now. What there actually is to come on here and say today. I don't know what I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know where to begin. It was a roller coaster of a day Saturday. I think the one thing that's definitive, like the one thing that you can say, is I don't think there was any of us that thought, like I didn't even think it was a possibility. And I know everybody probably had an idea that it was. Everybody here was more realistic than me. But I did not think there was a possibility we would be here today getting ready to have the type of conversation that we are going to have. It sucks. It sucks. And I'm not even nearly as invested as I would say at least 80 to 90% of this fan. There was a lot, honest to God, no. There's a lot of fakes that hopped on the train late. But I'm not nearly as invested as probably everybody else in this room. And it sucked for me. So we're going to break it down. This is going to be a good therapy session today. Everybody in the chat, TikTok, YouTube, I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
This would be a prime show to interact with you.
Yeah.
I want to see questions.
I want to know your thoughts. I want you to know. I want to know what you disagree with what we have to say. I want to know what you agree with. I want to hear your questions. Questions about Ben Johnson. The headline.
Literally, now what? That's the title of the episode. Like, I want to hear what you have to say, and we'll talk it out together. Like, think of it as a group therapy session. Because I don't know. I mean, I'm still not that I'm in denial. It just hasn't set in for me yet. But I want to hear. We want to hear from you guys. We want to interact. We want to answer your questions. Stop me if you've heard me say we want to interact with you before. How many times did I say that on Friday?
A whole lot. I mean, that's why we're here. Is because you guys are here to listen to us, and we're here to chat it up with you guys. So, yeah, that's exactly what today is. This is a group therapy session. We do have to debunk the game still. I mean, for me, and I know Zolo's going to go deeper into this, it was just every single aspect of that game was just a letdown. They got outplayed on all three sides of the ball. That was the most, and I know Uncle Sam texted me this before the clock even hit zero, and it was exactly the way I felt. Out of every single Dan Campbell coached team I have seen, and I don't want to just call out Dan Campbell, this coaching staff in a whole, out of every single game I have seen, this was the least prepared I had seen that team. I don't want to dole out blame onto Jared Goff. He did not have his best game, but when your defense allows 45 points, and I know they got 14 points off of turnovers, they had no answer. None. They were grossly underprepared. They came out flat. It was just...
The turnovers destroyed them. There was no coming back from that.
It was just kill shot after kill shot after kill shot.
You can't turn the ball over 5 times against a good team and win. It's not going to happen.
Hey.
I don't care who you are.
I got one for you.
Go ahead.
The teams that won this weekend, the 4 teams that won.
Did not turn the ball over.
Eagles, Commanders, Chiefs, Bills, didn't turn the ball over one time the entire weekend.
There you go. There you go. And actually, hold on. I wanted to touch on this because this was something that stuck out to me in a big, glaring way. And Jewel just brought it up in the chat. Monty starting out the first 2 plays. I'm not going to lie. And you could call this the bias that I had in my head going into this game. And I swear, when I saw him trot out there to start the game after the streak that Gibbs had, and they went back to him twice, I get it. You probably want to get him going. But when I saw that, I just didn't get a good feeling out of the rip. Like, you saw David Montgomery was not 100%. You saw it. You saw it. He'll get 2 different players from prior to the injury till this week. I didn't like that. I didn't like that first drive. To me, them not coming out and going for a gut punch on the first drive and just try and get them, make the Commanders feel uncomfortable at Ford Field.
Put them on their heels.
Right. They went conservative on that first drive. And to me, I took a step back for a second and I was like, okay, I don't want them to, I feel a little bit of underestimation here on this first drive. I didn't like it right out of the gate. The worst part, all in all, the worst part about this is that the asshole effect, like everybody, like I just feel like an asshole now. I feel like an asshole for the last 6 months when I got up here and said, this is an unbeatable team. Because it was such a big letdown. Like every other game of the weekend to me didn't have that same feeling. And if you take the fandom bias out of it. Every other game this weekend, there was at least some point where you could make an argument for both teams. You could not make an argument for the Lions. You couldn't. It was just a complete and utter letdown.
I had texted you after the second running play by Montgomery and told you he was what? He's not even 50%. I don't know why they had him in there. I thought it was stupid to even bring him in there. I did not understand that. He had no drive with his legs. Normally he runs through guys that come at him like that. And he couldn't even get away from a shoestring tackle.
I just feel like the problem is that you got away from what had been working the last couple of weeks.
Now what do you think?
You cannot defend.
Exactly. What do you defend on this performance? You can't defend anything.
Well, no,
I mean,
the thing.
Jameer Gibbs. I'm going to defend Jameer Gibbs until I.
Jameer Gibbs is yes.
Yeah.
I agree without question.
Christian Mahogany had a good game.
Yes, he did.
14 carries.
Highest ranked. That's
14 carries against a 30th ranked defense.
The problem.
Ready for this?
That's it. 14 carries.
105 yards on 14 carries.
Yes.
7.5 yards a carry.
Okay, he's averaging 7.5 yards per carry, and he only carried the ball 14 times.
Gibbs should have had 25 carries.
He should have had at least 25 carries in that game.
Even still, let me go back to what you said.
No.
David Montgomery was at 50%. Yeah, I agree. And I also disagree on how valuable he is to the offense compared to you, but you're right. He was at 50%, and guess what? He still had 4 yards a carry. So even if they rely on him for 4 yards a carry.
But he was not himself. He's not the David Montgomery that prior to this knee injury.
No, but the gist is they were running the ball effectively, and that was when I came on here on Friday. I said, "What are the keys to the game? You're going up against the 30th ranked run defense."
Ben Johnson's play call. I don't want to jump on Ben Johnson. I am not a fan of Ben Johnson. Anybody that watches this show knows that.
Go ahead, hit him with the
He
good
was
riddance.
very fucking
Hit him with the good
predictable.
riddance.
He was very fucking predictable.
They wanted to. Everybody's asking, who do you dole out the blame to? If you're going to ask me, and I don't know if anybody cares, but my blame goes to 2 people solely, and that's Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. And that's taking out of the fact, that's taking out the whole, well, they were interviewing and they didn't put all their time into this game, which I do agree with, but I'm taking that out of it. Aaron Glenn looked at his defensive scheme from the Minnesota game and said, we're just going to do the same thing over again. And he played Jaden Daniels like he played Sam Darnold. And that was mind-boggling to me. Because you've had this happen to you before. You have gone up against a quarterback who is going to torch you with his feet.
Lamar Jackson did
Lamar
that
Jackson,
last year.
Josh Allen did it to you this year. And you could not compensate for it in any way, shape, or form. any way, shape,
In
or
his defense, he doesn't have the personnel to do it.
But-
We get it.
my
So
God.
you have to scheme it. You know what? Then get out of the, stop blitzing, dude. Stop blitzing and die to slow death. 1,000 cuts, die the slow death. You letting them rip up and down the field on you the way they did was not good.
No.
That was not good.
No. And then the other thing, and I'm sorry, I get it. Riverboat Dan and greatest show on turf. Jameson Williams had never thrown a pass before, dude. You're down 10 in a divisional round playoff game, and you're not up by 5 touchdowns against the Tennessee Titans. What are you doing?
Can we go back to Ben Johnson for a second?
Go, please.
They needed to run the ball. They needed to run the ball. It's that simple.
Well,
30th ranked run defense.
let me just add one thing because I forgot about this. Steven in there, just double down on that. Gibbs averages 7.5 per carry, and we're running the ball on 3rd and 1 and fumbling.
Dan Campbell's response to the fumble on 3rd and 1, which if you go through Twitter, a lot of people think that's when the game changed. It changed in the first quarter. You were driving to go up 14-3, and they would have been chasing you. They would have been chasing you the entire game. Dan Campbell's justification was, we've run that play 50 times this year successfully. I will live with it. I think that's a product. A guy that was a real big dud on offense was Graham Glasgow. A lot of the pressures that Goff came up, or the negative plays that Goff gave up, came from the left guard position, unfortunately, which is Graham Glasgow. If you run the ball on 3rd and 1 there, you're at 1st and goal, right? Maybe first, whatever. You're close, driving to go up 14-3 instead of fumbling the ball, giving them the ball, and they're up 10-7. And just in general, not running the ball, not playing Lions football, which is we're going to punch you in the mouth. We're going to be more physical than you. We're going to dominate the trenches offensively. We're going to run the ball and control the tempo, control time of possession. And then if you're lucky, you'll be able to go toe-to-toe with us again while your defense is exhausted in the second half because they've been on the field the entire game. And they just went away. They played Commanders football, and they weren't bad at it. The Lions were not bad at all at Commanders football. They put up 31 points, and they were scoring efficiently when they had to in certain instances. But when you are down 10-7 as opposed to up 10-3 or 14-3 for that matter, it completely changes the play calling. You're looking at a whole new set of plays, which is leading to forced throws downfield, which is leading to bad throws that Goff is throwing the ball to the other team. It's leading that. The prime example was the Mike Sanders drill, brilliant interception at the end of the first half. That wasn't a bad ball from Goff. Now, Goff isn't throwing those types of balls to J-Mo. It's usually I'm going to loft it downfield because he's open and I know he beat someone. But they were forcing a throw, and therefore the DB was able to beat them. The DB was able to make a play on it. That cost you 3 to 7 points to end the half. You're looking at going in the half down 3 to going in the half down 10, which is what ultimately happened. And just going away from running the football, which is what got you here in the first place, which is what got you through the last month, was going away from was running the football effectively. It was, I won't say it was the most unprepared game. I think the Ravens game last year was the most unprepared I've seen that team. But their game plan was just off. Their game plan was just off.
Watching football yesterday showed to me how detrimental. Okay, and I don't want to. I don't want to take shots at Goff. That is not what I'm here to do. But you had Josh Allen out there yesterday, who did nothing in the pass game, and they relied solely on James Cook and Ray Davis, and even a couple good runs out of Ty Johnson to win them that football game. And Josh Allen is Goff's not in that conversation right now. And they took the ball out of his hands, the MVP, and relied on their run game.
That's why they won.
And that's why they won that game. There's just such a bad disconnect because literally, as Zolo just said, you ran the ball into this spot. That is what got you here. The cuteness thing, I get it. They live and die on the cuteness scale. But you got too cute, dude. You got too cute. And that's really what sucks about it, is because you had every opportunity to just run the ball down their throat. You saw what Washington did to Tampa the week prior. They beat Tampa in that game because they controlled that time of possession. And you
the
knew
same thing against Detroit.
And you knew going into it that's what they were going to do.
They ran the ball 40 times. 40 times. Washington ran the ball 40 times.
That was truly, I was at a loss. Truly, I was at a loss.
Well,
What?
that's why they're all on vacation now. That's why they're all on vacation now. You know, because you trotted out there thinking it was going to be a fucking cakewalk. Learned early on that it was going to be a battle, and the Commanders showed that they weren't fucking around. They weren't fucking around. They had their number. Jaden Daniels had their number. My man put some balls in places. I was like, damn, that was nice.
The one
throw in between the double
fourth quarter
coverage,
and
and I
the
was
double
like,
cover,
fuck you.
it was great coverage.
That was
Terrion Arnold was right there.
It was a great.
Terrion Arnold was on him
Yeah.
perfectly, and
Yeah.
then on top of that, Kirby Joseph came
came
over and
across.
helped perfectly. Just a great ball and a great catch.
Great throw. Great
That's-
throw.
that's
And
the-
that was no bullshit.
I think that's what happened is we all did this, including me. We all overestimated Jaden Daniels as a runner, and in return, it caused us to underestimate Jaden Daniels as a passer. He didn't really open it up until the second half.
Correct.
Everything in the first half was just screens. That was their thing, is we're going to take what the defense gives us, and the screens were working. They were going trips to the left. There wouldn't be a third guy, or there wouldn't be a fourth guy coming over. So the Terry McLaurin touchdown in the first half that went for 65 yards on the screen, that wasn't impressive. Everyone just got their blocks off, and Terry McLaurin is so fast that if he's one-on-one with someone, boom, over, done. So if no one comes over, it's game over. In the second half, though, we got to see Jaden Daniels as a passer, and he's damn good. He's really good. And that's with just, his receivers aren't even that outstanding.
No.
This
can you imagine?
This is why he should be Rookie of the Year.
Oh, we're no argument.
Yeah.
No argument.
No argument. No argument.
No argument there. Right?
He should have been a legitimate top 5 or 6 MVP candidate.
Yeah.
He is certainly, if you were to factor in the playoffs, he's probably the second. He's got to be the second best player in football at the moment. The only guy I'm taking out of the teams that are still left is Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And Jaden Daniels is playing better quarterback than Josh Allen is right now. All around the real I said this to 3 different group chats. I think I said this on the show on Friday. For the Lions to lose this game, not that I was underestimating the Commanders, because I was always scared of them. I said it on the show, don't overlook them, don't overlook your opponent. But for the Lions to blow this game, a lot had to go wrong. And for the Commanders to win this game, a lot had to go right. I think if you play this game 10 times, the Lions win 8 of them.
Yeah.
The Commanders did, I don't want to sound like I'm taking credit from the Commanders, because they did everything right.
Perfect game.
Their game plan was perfect offensively.
Dan
Their
Quinn.
game plan was
Right.
perfect defensively. How about
Quinn's
this little thing? The Commanders are the only team in football that figured off kickoff coverage. Has anyone noticed that?
Yep.
They were bullying the Lions in the second half. They kicked it to Craig Reynolds every single time. Every single time they kicked it to Craig Reynolds. And even if Craig Reynolds was faster,
Their punter was money too.
yeah, their punter was good
Their
too.
punter
When
was
he did
fucking
punt, he barely
killing
punted. He barely punted. But when they were in kickoff coverage, the way they cover, the way they swing over, no one's getting to the 30 on them. You got to be super fast. Maybe they'll risk it and someone will return a kick on them in the next 2 weeks. But that little tweak, not giving the Lions the ball at the 30 every time, that little tweak, that goes a long way.
Huge.
So that's a phase that they beat you in. They beat you defensively. What they did defensively, it was so subtle, but Bobby Wagner said it. We're just going to get some bodies on him. Now, granted, I thought that there should have been a flag on the one where he got drilled in the pick 6, and Jaden Daniels got a flag for something way lesser. And granted, I thought there should have been more flags here and there, but they didn't lose because of the officiating. They lost because the Commanders had a perfect game plan. They executed it well. They made little to no mistakes, and you made endless mistakes. And it sucks.
And look at the demeanor of this game when it started. They came out. They were ready. They were fucking ready.
Yeah.
And this is why I keep harping on. I hate that.
Thank you.
First week bye. They always come out flat from being
Just in
off.
general.
Always.
And you've been saying this for a long time. The Lions are
I've saying it for 2
the
years.
Campbell Lions perform poor Well, they've won the 2 games out of the bye, but when they have long rest, they come out and perform poorly. And this was another example. And you and I knew it. Like,
Yeah.
that time off might be tough, but they needed that time off. They needed it to get healthy.
And what really, listen, I get it. You're saying they needed that time off. I think they would have been better off going on the road like the Vikings did. They would have had a better chance of winning than the Vikings. And then come home and play the rest of the games here. I hate that first round. Dude, let's face the fact. They did not win a playoff game this year. They got knocked out. They got knocked out in their first round.
I know.
They didn't win shit. They didn't win nothing. They won 15 regular season games, come into the playoffs and lay an egg. You lay a fucking egg. And for him to come up there and start balling, and I get it. Hey, I'm a Dan Campbell guy. I like him. But you know what, dude? I'm going to be honest with you. It's on him. It's on him for not making the adjustments during the game that need to be made. You making a call as a fucking head coach when it needs to be made, when you need to put a spark in your team, and you didn't do it. And say what you want to say. I am all for him. I think he's changed the culture here. These people with the same old Lions thing, shut the fuck up. You're stupid. Because if you haven't been around for 45 years, 50 years, you don't know what you're talking about. So I'm all for him. I don't know how you rebound from something like this. It's so hard to get back to this point. And he even said it last year after they clearly shit the bed on being fucking a quarter and a half away from the Super Bowl, that they shit the bed on the play calling. I'm not going to go there. And then it is what it is. But it's going to be harder for them this year to get back to this place.
We've done this with every team that gets eliminated from the playoffs, so I guess we need to do the same thing here. But the outlook for the Lions, and I think this is where the letdown is amongst the fan base, right? This was the magic year, right? You go 15-2. You get the ones they got, and Goff said it in his post-game presser. We got everything we wanted. You did your job against Minnesota. You pop them. You take the 1 seed from them, right? You get home field advantage throughout. Philadelphia would have been coming here. You have everything. And that's how you go out. And now, next year, because we've all seen the schedule, every single one of these teams that's in right now, you play again next year. And you got to go away to most of them. And you are not, I'm sorry, you are not coming back next year and going 15-2. You are more likely than not taking the 1 seed. So hopefully, my hope is that everything that you're saying here is true, and they don't end up with the 1 seed, and they do have to play week 1 next year, and all of the above. Because there's no way that this team's not a playoff team, but your magical season that was this is not going to get replicated. It ends in magic if you make it past this point, but you had it all. And maybe that was too much. Maybe you're right. Maybe the bye week was too much. Maybe the fact that they weren't chasing anybody. Because there's a narrative going around that the Lions can't perform when they're not chasing, when they don't have that chip on their shoulder. Maybe they do need to be chasing. Maybe they do need a 5 seed.
They need to be the underdog.
Maybe that's the case. But for it to end the way that it did, knowing what's looming next year, I agree with you. That's the hardest thing to swallow. Because go and look at that schedule for next year and tell me if you think this team goes 12-5.
Listen, they're picking at 28. Okay. This draft coming up is deep on ends and tackles, and it's something they need to address on their defense. I think linebacker needs to be addressed hugely. The corner situation's fucked. They only got 6 picks. So I don't know what they're going to be able to pull out of their hat. What do you do with a 36-year-old defensive end that if he's not playing opposite Myles Garrett,
I don't think Za'Darius
shit.
Smith's going to be.
So if you really want to be honest, I mean, this is where you're looking right now. What are you looking for? Marcus Davenport to come back? Huh? Is that what you're looking for? To play opposite Aiden? We don't know what Aiden's going to be like because we don't We haven't seen him, so it's a lot of question marks going into this year here. You have to address the center situation. You have to address the guard situation.
Ragnow's coming back.
I know that, but sooner or later, they're going to have to address that.
They will.
Okay? Because the guy's playing on 1 foot. Decker's under contract for 1 more year, I believe.
I think it's 2 years after this year.
It's 2 years?
After this
All right, so you got him for 2 more years. I'm going to be honest with you. He's been getting smoked the last 3 games. If anybody's watched it, they know what the fuck I'm talking about. So the offensive line, which is the strength, is average at best right now. They're not a top 5 line anymore. They're not. I mean, all you do is take Zeitler out of there, and it all fell apart. I mean, come on, dude. What are we doing here?
Zolo.
There's one thing I want to touch on and make it the glass half full approach, because I have no other choice to look at it this way. I have got so many. I keep seeing it on Twitter, and people think that this team's never going to win anything. If this team couldn't do it, which team could? Do you think Bills fans are thinking that right now after what, 4 or 5 years of really big lackluster letdown performances? You think Bills teams were thinking our window's closed?
No.
Well, now they're 1 game away, and are they the favorite Sunday?
I believe they are the favorite.
They're 1 game away, and they never thought that way, and I'm not going to think that way. Let me tell you why.
I don't think that way either.
Let me tell you why. People are going to complain about that 12-man.
Kansas City's a 1.5 point.
Okay, it's basically even. People are going to complain about that too many men on the 12 men in the huddle penalty, which was horrible. And Campbell said that's on me, and it is. Let me tell you why that happened. Do you guys know why that happened? There's a reason why that happened. And by the way, I don't think they were getting that stop. Anyways, I mean the crowd was into it, but I don't think that they were going to get that stop. Let me tell you why that too many men on the field penalty or too many men breaking the huddle penalty happened. At that point in the game, you had 4 guys on the field that weren't even going into the week as a starter in a season where you're already out 7 or 8 starters defensively. So you have 4 guys. It's one thing if it's 1 guy, but when there's 4 guys, it's going to get lost in translation who does what job, and there's communication errors, and no one knew who was supposed to come off the field in that situation. That was a direct result of the injuries. At that point in that game, you had lost Amik Robinson, who left the second play of the game, which could have also been a complete game changer for that game.
Such a blow.
You lost Amik Robinson. Brian Branch wasn't on the field. Ife Melifonwu wasn't on the field. All in that one play.
They were both in and out, in and out. I just...
On that play, that's why that happened, because you had guys that don't touch the field. It's one thing if it's 1 or 2 guys. But my point being is people are asking what they need to do in the offseason. I'll say this much. They are 7th in cap space. I think they have $60 million or something like that. They have another first-round pick. You know what they need to do in the offseason? They need to get healthy, because this would have been a completely different team
They
with
need
that
a
defense.
really good strength and conditioning coach. I think these guys can't handle the wear and tear, and they need to bring somebody in there to get these guys into shape to the point where they're not going to go down on every other play.
Agreed, but there's also an element of luck. Amik Robinson broke his arm, friendly fire. Alex Anzalone broke his arm earlier this year, friendly fire. Aiden Hutchinson snapped his leg earlier this year, friendly fire. 3 teammates did those injuries right there.
Yeah.
I think Malcolm Rodriguez, if I recall correctly, might even been friendly fire.
I believe that was friendly fire as well.
I can't remember, but you just need to get healthy. That's the first thing. You're automatically upgraded next year because a lot of these guys aren't even in the primes of their careers yet. The only guy on your team, the only person at a really important difference-making position on your team that's in their prime right now is Jared Goff. He's the only guy where there's a clock ticking on his window. St. Brown is 25 or 26. Aiden Hutchinson is 23. Who else? Aleem McNeil, 24, 25. Anzarike, same drill. Derek Barnes, Jack Campbell, Jamison Williams. The list goes on. Sam Laporta, Penei Sewell. All of those guys are under 25 years old. They're not even in their prime.
No.
Half of them aren't even in their second contract.
This is good experience for everybody.
Yeah.
This is the type of loss that will you to win going into another year. You won't forget this.
Yeah.
This is on them now. Now I think they realize that if you take stuff for granted, that head gets a little big, and this is what usually happens when you're hearing you're an 8-point favorite and then you get punched in the mouth. This is needed sometimes to keep that ego in check.
Agreed.
Now,
It's a good example I've been giving people is the 95 Red Wings. And then just in general, in sports, in the 4 major sports in the United States, you have recently it was the 2023 Bruins, and then you had the 2016 Warriors, you had the 07 Patriots, and then the baseball equivalent was like the 2000 Seattle Mariners. I can't remember which team exactly. All 4 of those teams finished with the best records in the history of their sport. None of them won the championship. The 95 Red Wings had that record before the Bruins, the most wins of all time in the NHL. And they went on, they made the final. They got swept in the final by the New Jersey Devils. And Darren McCarty had this great quote. He goes, "We learned from that. We didn't win it next year, but we won it 2 years later. But what we learned from that was it is a marathon. It is not the sprint. It is not a sprint. It's a marathon." And the Kansas City Chiefs are another great example of that. How they've, even though they've clinched the 1 seed not last year, but this year and 2 years ago, they've turned it into a marathon. And we're going to do things a certain way to make it to a certain point. And if we're there, we're going to trust in everything going right because we're ready and we're prepared for it. And that's something the Lions could take away. They went balls out because their narrative this year was, if we make the title game at home last year, we win and go to a Super Bowl. So their goal was to get a 1 seed, and credit to them. They did everything they could to get a 1 seed. I think there were one too many injuries down the stretch, and we just were blinded by it because they were still winning after all the injuries. There was one too many injuries down the stretch, and that's why they couldn't get it done.
at the end of the day, the talent level comes into play.
It matters.
Talent level comes into play, and you're not up to par when you're playing guys that are 3rd string, 4th string. You don't have a chance of beating a good team. Let's be honest.
I know you're fiending to get to Ben Johnson. There's one more thing I want to say. I'll keep it quick. Jared Goff has taken a lot of heat over the last couple days in this town, and he's been compared to he's nothing more than Sam Darnold. He can never win a game, this and that. I will say this much on Jared Goff. That was a bad game. You know who the first person who's going to tell you Jared Goff had a bad game was? You know the first person that's going to say it?
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff is going to tell you. He's so mindful of all of this, and I don't want to say we've never, but there's very few athletes in this town that are cognizant of the pulse in this town than Jared Goff. He went to Cal. He's a really smart guy. He's not the most skilled quarterback in the world, but he's really good, and he's really good for this town. He will always be good for Detroit. Yeah, he was bad Saturday. He's one of the reasons we lost. Probably the main player on the field, the reason we lost was Jared Goff. I still think he was a little shaken up after that hit he took, and that's why his second half wasn't great. He was a different quarterback. But Jared Goff is aware of it, and to compare him to people who haven't won big games, to imply that he cannot win big games.
He's been to a Super Bowl.
I will tell you that he's been to a Super Bowl. He won a big game in New Orleans and for the Rams. I will tell you that twice this year he beat the Packers in massive games. Twice this year he beat the Vikings in massive games. He won a big game in Houston after having 5 turnovers back in November. I promise you that Jared Goff has won a lot of big games. And even last year, he had 2 big playoff games against Tampa and the Rams, and he wasn't the reason they lost in San Francisco. If you recall, he was really good in that San Francisco game last year. So if you want to blame Jared Goff or argue and hop off the Goff bandwagon after 1 game, go ahead, do your thing, focus your energy elsewhere. Give me more time to disagree on Jared Goff, but I guarantee you he comes back better, smarter, stronger next year, even with a new offensive coordinator. I'm not worried. Jared Goff was a problem Saturday. He's not the entire reason they lost, though.
Let me ask you a question. How many more years is the window? What's the window?
I would tie the window to Goff. And a lot of people would tie the window to Goff and Ben Johnson, and they think the window's closed because you had a 1 seed and now you just lost Ben Johnson. I would tie it to however successful Goff is, unless you have a replacement. But all of these guys are under contract for 4 or 5 years, and they're good, and they can only get better. Aiden Hutchinson was going to break the sack record and be Defensive Player of the Year. He had 7.5 sacks when he went out. Okay, so what are you going to do with the full season of Aiden Hutchinson? And what are you going to do with the full season of Aleem McNeil, who's gotten better every single year? Aleem McNeil gets better by the game.
I have a personal guarantee that Jared Goff will bring a Lombardi Trophy to Detroit, because I do not, in my heart of heart, think they're going to come back with a step back next year.
No.
When I'm saying be shocked, I'd be 12-5 is the outlook for next year. That 12-5 is going to be the hardest fought 12-5 that there is versus 15-2 this year, and they made it look easy. The opponents they're going against next year are going to hinder them from getting that 1 seed, but I truly, in my heart of hearts, think Ben Johnson was great. They will be able to do it without him. Jared Goff will bring a Super Bowl here. That's it. My outlook on them for next year in the regular season is not 15-2, but my outlook is just as good, if not better, for the playoff run next year.
And who knows on their schedule? There's teams on their schedule that are going to be better, and there's teams on their schedule that are going to be worse than what we're looking at right now. It sucks you have a first-place schedule. It sucks that you have to go to L.A. to play the Rams, who could lose Stafford, by the way. You got to go to Washington to play the Commanders again, who are going to be better next year, in my opinion. You got to go to Baltimore. You got to go to Kansas City. You got to go to Cincinnati. That's a tough schedule right there before we even get to your divisional games. That being said, like, this team has only gotten better, and I think if they have, like, people are going to want to come here. You have cap space, and people are going to want to come here. Coaches are going to want to come here, okay, to replace Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. People want to be here at this point. They want to be a part of this culture and this thing that's been getting built. So just let the chips fall. Rome wasn't built in a day. This sucks, but let it happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on TikTok right now. Musa, if we had Hutchinson and Montgomery, we would have won. It's going to be harder next year. It's going to be harder, but I think that we will take a step forward. And here, Goff's at fault, but it's just a game. Let's learn from this and get better. I mean, Goff did not play a perfect game. You cannot blame the loss on Jared Goff. And Tanner, again, listen, Teddy Bridgewater is 1 for 1 on scoring drives in that game. We're great at the quarterback spot. Uncle Sam, your thoughts?
TC on TikTok says
game.
Teddy ball game, great handoff, excellent handoff for a 61-yard. TC on TikTok says your window is closed. Which fan are you of, the Vikings or the Packers?
Yeah.
Well, who is your team? Tell me.
I'll say this right now and right here. Right now, still today, with Jared Goff's last performance, I would rather have him than Jordan Love, and I'd rather have him than whoever's going to play quarterback in Minnesota next year.
He's an Eagles fan. So an Eagles fan who was told their window was closed for the last 2 years after losing to San Francisco. An Eagles fan who they refixed their coaching staff and honestly might lose on Sunday, has a chance to lose on Sunday with a quarterback that's banged up on perks right now. An Eagles fan is telling us that our window is closed. An Eagles fan. Your team would have came in here and got crushed next week. I want you to know that. The way that they're playing right now, your team would have gotten crushed.
The Mac 24/7 on TikTok. Can we trade back for Stafford?
No, I'm all set on that. Didn't Stafford just lose yesterday?
Hey, Bud, Stafford's in Cancun right now, too.
Isn't he going to retire?
With bad shoulder?
Yeah. Jack said that.
Goff chokes, that's why LA got rid of him. No, LA got rid of him because their coach didn't know how to manage him. He's not choked for the Lions. He didn't choke in the championship game last year and won endless big games. Wait, isn't it Jalen Hurts who chokes away big games? Just curious.
Jack said Frankie Louvu turned Goff into Joey Harrington.
100%. That's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened.
Okay. So obviously the Commanders are moving on to the NFC Championship game.
They earned it.
They earned it.
They earned it.
They played a perfect game.
There's no getting around it. They earned it. They earned it. They played hard. Dan Quinn, I'm surprised. Listen,
But
I know he's a really good defensive coach.
Did anybody catch the Brady reference?
Yeah. I saw it yesterday. I wasn't watching.
I saw it live. When the Commanders owners came down onto the field.
Josh Harris came down to the field with 5 minutes left.
And Brady goes, "Oh, I bet Dan Quinn doesn't like the idea of
an owner on the field before the clock
with 5 minutes left." Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, that was a nice shot there. Continue. I'm sorry.
What's even better is having your head coach. He's got the best short yardage back in the game in probably 2 decades. Decides to throw a ball at the 2-yard line. Dumbass.
Yeah, I think the Commanders are going to have a really good shot at it on Sunday. I'm not going to pick them to win just because it's going to be tough for the divisional element is what kills me for that game. But I think the Commanders are going to have a
one
really
thing I
good
could say,
shot
we haven't talked about this game yet, and Sam was talking about the Rams defense. My God, Jared Verse is an absolute monster. That kid is a fucking monster.
How about him walking through the Eagles stretch line
shit,
before the
dude.
game and talking his shit and then
Talk
backing it
shit
up
to all the fans,
and then backing it
I
up?
was like, this guy is a beast.
He's that, I'm telling you. And
This guy is the
I know Stafford left it
face
up in
this
the air.
league.
Yeah. Stafford left it up in the air, and if he's coming back next year, I think in my heart of hearts he's going to. And that Rams team, that's your division champ for
You
next.
better watch out for
That
them.
defense is so potent.
Wait, just in general, on the West, they get to play the NFC South next year, and they get to play the AFC South next year.
Yeah, it's good.
They get to
Oh,
play the two worst
shit.
divisions next
Yeah.
year. So
They'll
there's
win
going to
16
be
games next
there's
year.
going to be a quick riser out of the NFC West. Seattle is the one that stands out to me.
Rams.
Okay.
Well, the Rams have to play a first place schedule though. That's the problem.
But their defense is so
They're good. Rams are really good.
I mean,
And
stop-
they didn't go up against no. Listen, they were going up against arguably the top 2 offensive line in football and was ragdolling them.
Yeah.
they
Mulata was getting ragdolled by Jared Verse.
they lost Aaron Donald off that
And got
defensive
better.
line and got better, dude.
How
and
the fuck
got better.
Did you lose the best defensive player in the last decade
Let's
and get better?
let's talk about that game. Let's just go there. We'll just finish off the NFC and then we can save the AFC for last. Is that good with you guys? Any last thoughts on the Lions Commanders?
No.
Last thoughts.
Do we want to touch on Ben Johnson?
Go ahead.
What about
I
that?
forgot about that.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
There's some
Okay,
questions.
Sarah. Goodbye, asshole.
There's some questions in here from earlier. I saw one from the Hemkers.
Can I make one comment on this Ben Johnson thing before?
Yeah.
Because I want to hear.
No,
your
I want to go through all the YouTube. I want to talk to all the commenters. by
I
the
agree.
way.
I agree. I'll say this, okay? Odd. Go check. I'll say this much, right? The Ben Johnson thing, I thought as we were watching the interaction with Brady in reference to Ben Johnson on the stream, I thought it was a done deal. I thought Ben Johnson was going to be the Raiders' next head coach. I didn't think twice about it. I thought it was a done deal. Honest to God, I thought about that prior to seeing Brady smirk. And I think Brady thought Ben Johnson was coming there too. It is very surprising to me that Ben Johnson took that Bears job. I'm surprised. I get it now looking back on it because out of all of the openings, your quarterback situation is probably the best going to Chicago. He has Caleb Williams. He can mold him. He can create him in his image. As far as offenses go, I think that Chicago has some really good playmakers on offense. I think he probably made the right choice. And if the Lions did what they did this year again next year, Ben Johnson's stock falls dramatically. It makes sense now. Do I think it's absolutely Bush League that all the stories are coming out today that he's been building a coaching staff for the last 2 weeks? Yes. And is it very frustrating? Yes. Is it the reason why they lost? I don't think so. But I'm shocked to see him take the Chicago job because I thought, and this might just be a stupid fan talking, but I thought there was a little bit more there than for him to jump ship and go 4 hours away.
I think it's awesome.
It's a good spot for him. Is that what you mean by it's awesome?
No, I just think it's awesome. You
Why?
know why?
Get to
Because
pummel him
he'll
twice a year
coach
now?
he'll coach his way out of fucking every game he plays against Detroit because he thinks he knows them front to end.
Well, somebody in here, it might have been on Twitter. I don't know if it was in the chat or on Twitter, but they're like, Ben Johnson's the next Josh McDaniels. He will
be.
end up coaching somewhere for a couple years. It'll
No,
fail
he's not Josh
miserably,
McDaniels.
and
No,
he'll be
he's not.
back as offensive coordinator.
No, he's not.
Could be.
He is not Josh McDaniels.
The
You know
only,
who Ben Johnson is?
Who?
I already told you who he is.
Is it?
He's Kyle Shanahan Jr.
Oh.
He will coach his way out of every fucking championship game that he goes to. Mark my words.
So I'm not. I'm gonna root for Ben Johnson. It's really disappointing that he took the Bears job. I don't know. That pisses me off kind of that he went into the division. And then there, like I said, there was this narratives that the coaches were checked out, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. Well, I didn't entirely agree with that.
I don't agree with
Because they only interviewed for jobs Friday and Saturday last week, and they had those days off to interview. The time was put aside to interview. I don't think those 2 days took away their focus. But now that since we've been sitting here, another Ben Johnson potential staff member has come out just since we've been sitting here. You can't help but wonder about the fact that they were thinking about their the staffs they were going to build out. So supposedly he's taking Dennis Allen with him, former Saints head coach, as his D coordinator.
Yeah, good luck with that.
And then former Saints special teams coordinator Darren Reese is also supposedly going with Ben Johnson to Chicago. That's a hell of a staff off the rip.
Yep.
I can't imagine they're going to hire an offensive
I would
coordinator
like to
because I
hear
think
one
Ben
thing,
Johnson's
though.
going to call the plays. But go ahead.
I would like to hear Bruce's thoughts on this
Bruce?
Lions deal. Bruce.
Bruce, you alive back there?
Bruce didn't get to say anything. Bruce?
Hey, Bruce.
Sayonara to Ben Johnson. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
If you're with us, you're against us.
Okay.
That's it.
I hear you.
It's tough. I think it's very. I'm pissed that he took the Chicago job, but it also from if I were Ben Johnson, it was for me. It would have been between that and Jacksonville. I think Chicago's a great situation. There's a lot of pieces. They might need to rebuild their offensive line, but that's it. And they have a defense that they could probably win some games next year with. And by probably, I mean it's one of the better defenses in football. So it all makes sense from that standpoint. Again, it's disappointing that it's the division. It's disappointing after the way they just lost as well. The Lions just lost. That's tough, but that's a good gig for Johnson. I'll always have an affection for him because I will never not be able to associate this era of Lions football with Ben Johnson. But that being said, back in 2021, Dan Campbell's first year, after Thanksgiving, he demoted former good Chargers head coach Anthony Lynn, who was the Lions offensive coordinator. Dan Campbell demoted him in favor of calling the plays himself with the help of Ben Johnson. Someone asked, Anna Hemker earlier asked, how's Ben Johnson leaving affect the team? Sam asked that. Shout out to Sam Hemker. Ben Johnson leaving only affects them if he takes staff members with him. His 3 replacements are on the staff. Number 1, get used to this name right now. Tanner Engstrand is probably the Lions' next offensive coordinator. He has been the passing game coordinator for the Lions for 2 years. You might see a drop-off in the trick plays. Who gives a shit? The running concepts will still be there. They'll still flow through the offensive line. And the passing concepts, getting the guys open in the passing game, will be there. Tanner Engstrand has been right there with Ben Johnson every step of the way the last 3 years. He knows the playbook. Another important element to remember on the playbook is these are Dan Campbell's plays. This is Dan Campbell's terms and verbiage, okay? This is Dan Campbell's concepts. This is how Dan Campbell wants to run the offense. Yeah, the trick plays here and there are Ben Johnson, but these are Dan Campbell's plays. So whoever it is, it's not going to be that much of a drop-off.
Well, see, here's the thing that pisses me off that you're saying right now.
Yeah.
If Dan Campbell, these are his plays, at what point does he step in there and tell his coordinator, like he told Anthony Lynn, to sit down, I got this? He needs to fucking do that. He needs to quit giving these guys so much of a leash that they do whatever the fuck they want to do because it costs them games. He did it fucking last year, and he did it again this year. And I'm tired of talking about him. Goodbye. Goodbye.
In the event that it isn't Tanner Engstrand, the next guy in line would probably be running backs coach Scotty Montgomery, who is outstanding. Scotty Montgomery is one of the reasons Jahmyr Gibbs is what he is, and one of the reasons David Montgomery runs as hard as he does. And if it's Scotty Montgomery, you will see exactly what you need to see, which is the game flowing through the offensive line. Uncle Sam said it. Steven said it in the chat. They're probably going to draft interior offensive linemen, if not this year, next year. I would love a scenario. God, it kills me saying this against a Michigan guy, but Graham Glasgow was a liability at the end of the year.
Yeah.
If you can find a way to move on from Glasgow, re-sign Zeitler, Christian Mahogany you can make the case Mahogany was the best rookie out of their class, and he only started 2 games. He only played in 2 games and was a 6th-round pick. Christian Mahogany has a very bright future here. I think you still got a year out of Ragnow. Sewell is Sewell. Decker, I'd love a scenario where you can move him to the right and put Sewell in his... Story for another time.
They need to take that Manu kid and teach him how to play fucking guard and stick him in there left guard.
Yeah.
He's 6'7", he's a mountain. Put him in there and play him at guard. Look what I don't want to keep going back to Philadelphia, but they took Beckham, that tackle that the Jets drafted that didn't do shit for 2 years, and basically they let him go for nothing. They took this giant fucker, put him at guard. He's one of the best guards in the league. He's
Yeah.
putting people on their backs on every play. You could do that same thing. Or even take Decker, push him in at guard, and put that rookie on the outside.
Yeah,
Do
maybe.
something like that. Do something to make it work.
Maybe.
Do something to make it work. To make these guys dominant up front.
In general, draft someone. The third name that a lot of you are already familiar with offensively is Hank Fraley, who interviewed for the Seahawks job. Hank Fraley could be a candidate that Ben Johnson takes with him to call plays. You don't want to lose Hank Fraley, but if you're Hank Fraley, you don't want to sit around being an offensive line coach for too long. So those are the three names. My guess is it's going to be in that order. Tanner Engstrand. They're going to hire from within for offensive coordinator. Tanner Engstrand 1, Scotty Montgomery 2, Fraley 3. That's my guess. Defensively, you're probably going to lose Aaron Glenn before the end of the week. In-house, in my opinion on Aaron Glenn, and I'm a little different than Uncle Sam. I love what Aaron Glenn has done the last couple of years, but the difference between Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson is I think they can afford to lose Aaron Glenn because it's good to have a new defensive mind in the room that could help and figure out another way to do things to help these guys. The guy that probably makes the most sense to me is Terrell Williams, the defensive line coach that they hired last offseason. He has coaching experience that goes back decades, and Dan Campbell thinks that he could be a head coach one day. The other guy in-house that's going to make sense is Kelvin Shepard, the linebackers coach. D coordinator can be a position I could see them looking outward for. I could see them looking into another guy, a guy that got fired recently or whatever, because coaches are going to want to come here.
The only person I don't want to see here is Robert Saleh. Please don't bring Robert Saleh in here. Jesus fucking Christ.
Can I ask a couple rapid fire here?
Yeah.
We have a list of free agents.
Yeah.
Back or not? Carlton Davis.
There's a chance, but he's going to ask for a lot of money, and I think the way Amik Robinson emerged going forward, that they can imagine a scenario where he's the second quarterback. Could also see them trading for someone as well.
Zeidler.
Tough, probably not, but there's a chance.
Anzarike.
Yeah, 100%.
Barnes.
100%.
Here, this is where I'm on the fence. We heard all this talk about Anzarike during the offseason, and let's be painfully honest here. He did not live up to the hype.
It's his first full season, though. Remember that.
I
Remember that.
get it, but if you can't stay on the field, you're not worth having.
But he was on the field. He was on the field all year.
He missed a shit ton of games this year.
No,
He missed like 5 games this year, I thought.
No. He started.
Yeah, he was in and out.
I think he missed like 1 or 2 games on Zarika
That's
this
it?
year. Yeah, last year he missed a
about
few
that.
games.
Played in 16 games.
Played in
He
16
played
games.
16 this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
He missed one game. That being said, you're not off. Like there was a lot of hype.
Yeah, but there was a lot of hype on him.
As a depth
and it
piece,
did
though,
not produce.
As a depth piece, though, you have Reeder for sure. You have McNeil for sure. You have Hutchinson for sure. Reeder, you have 1 more year left, no matter what. So the only position left is left end, and Za'Darius Smith has a spot if they don't release him. I think there's a chance they release him, and I think there's a chance they trade for someone or sign someone.
I don't think, from what I've seen out of him, that you can pay this guy.
You're talking about Za'Darius Smith or Anzarike?
Yes.
Anzarike as a depth piece, I think you have to bring him back. I think he makes sense and he fits in here. Go
Derek
ahead.
Barnes.
Yeah, 100%. Derek Barnes was starting before he died.
Marcus Davenport. What? Why are you shaking your head? What?
I'm just.
He hates all the linebackers.
No, I don't hate all the line. Actually, you know what? Barnes is the only one I like.
You don't like Anzalone?
I like Barnes. He plays downhill. I love that.
High school, you mean? High school?
Listen, high school's great. I think they should make high school the defensive coordinator. Why are you laughing? I'm fucking serious.
Do you think Marcus Davenport comes back?
No.
No.
Tim Patrick.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's going to get a nice contract.
Yeah.
Dan Skipper.
Yeah, 100%.
Got to bring Skipper back. You know what?
100%.
You bring Skipper back just because of the balls. He has balls.
That's it.
You bring him back for his balls.
He is the
He's
human.
an enormous dude,
He's a human equivalent of Shrek.
and he's insane.
He's gargantuan
see him
and
just
butt
turn-
ugly.
He turns pink like Bruce.
PJ, how is Carlton Davis injury prone? He just broke his jaw. That's nothing to. Levi played a full season. He's coming off his first full year. So I named 2
yeah,
guys.
but he didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I agree on the injury prone players. I wouldn't bring back like an Emmanuel Mosley or like I wouldn't sign those types of injury. But an example of an injury prone player is Amik Robinson. He tore his ACL 2 years ago. You brought him in, you got him on a low deal, and look what happened. It worked perfectly for them.
Your Habibi Al-Qadim Muhammad.
100% depth piece, but yeah, bring him back.
I
No.
hope.
No, he was on the street for a reason. He needs to fucking go too. Go ahead.
I would live if they didn't bring back Al Qadim.
Listen to me. He's fucking
This is
what he is, dude.
Does that mean you don't want Pat O'Connor back?
Fuck no, I don't want Pat. Yeah, if he wants to stand on the sidelines and hand out Gatorade, fucking sure.
That's Eastern Michigan's
Sure.
Pat O'Connor. You can't land,
I get that.
you can't trade
Listen to-
for what's his face
listen
without
to me.
Pat O'Connor.
These guys have done an admirable job coming in here. Put him back on the practice squad where he
Hey.
belongs. What?
This is one that has to go. Kindle Vildor.
Listen to me, dude. You guys want to talk
Please.
shit about Vildor?
I want Kindle Vildor
All right,
gone.
here.
And
listen
that
to
brings
me.
up.
Then you better draft some fucking corners.
I think they have to draft and sign
You
quarters.
better draft at least 3 more.
And that brings up real quick on Kindle Vildor. That brings up a conversation that we missed. A guy that I was so excited to see all year, and we almost saw him the other day, was Ennis Rakestraw, who said in his when in locker room clean out yesterday, he goes, "I was on pace to start." I believe it was, I can't remember which game he said, but it was a game before the bye week. It might have been Seattle or something like that. He said, I was on pace to start that game at nickel. I was going to start that game at nickel, and then I had a hamstring injury in practice, and then it caused all these setbacks for him all year. Ennis Rakestraw is a piece. He's a really good piece. He's a guy that had a first-round grade on him. So you have an option in-house that's going to be pretty good, but you're right. They need to draft and sign corners. They need corner depth, good corner depth.
Melifanu come back.
I'm going to be
Yeah,
honest
they'll
with you, I
sign
think they need
Melifonwu.
safety too.
Hey, this is a big one. Allen Robinson.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
The rest. I mean, Zeke Turner,
Who?
Who?
Khalil Dorsey.
Who?
Dead.
Khalil Dorsey, by the way, I heard is off. I think he's like off of crutches and limping.
Whatever, dude. You know what?
Which is
He's dog
crazy.
shit anyway, dude. Hey,
John Kaminsky.
listen,
That's a great question.
I
I think
like
because of his
Kaminsky.
contract, I think they're not going to bring him back. I think if they can clear a little more cap space, which would be
listen. Unless you
Zeitler's
have
number gone.
somebody to replace him, and they don't, I think you have to bring him back.
Al-Qadim Muhammad's his replacement.
Dude, come on, dude.
Pat
If I hear
O'Connor.
that guy's name one more time, listen, there's a reason why the Colts sent him packing. Okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
because he's a Muslim living in Indiana.
'cause he's
Wouldn't you do the
garbage.
same?
Because he's fucking garbage.
Your
Oh,
outlook on the Detroit Lions next year.
Here's my outlook.
So, and we got.
Thank God that Ben Johnson is gone. Thank you, Jesus. Goodbye, Aaron Glenn. Goodbye. And then I think it's nothing but up. Here's the thing. They either need to make a splash in free agency or they have to take whatever picks they only have 6 picks this year, take 3 of those and try to bump up to get an actual player, to get a positional player. I know you guys want depth instead of talent, and I don't agree with that totally
Which position?
because this is what's burned them.
Which positional player do you want?
Positional player.
You said for the draft.
They either need a really good D tackle or an end,
End.
And
or tackle,
End for
or
sure.
tackle. I would love to see somebody that, and nothing against DJ Reader, he's been really nice, but I want to see a 3 technique in here that is good, if not better than like an Aaron Donald type guy. I just think it will make McNeil better. Dude, look at the defensive lines you've seen this weekend alone. Colby Turner, absolute monster. Okay. Jordan Davis and fucking
Jordan Davis and Jarrett Verse were the 2 best players in that game yesterday.
it wasn't
besides
even him.
Saquon.
Jalen Carter closed the game out for fucking
That's what I meant.
Philly.
That's what I meant.
Jalen Carter's
I'm
an
sorry.
absolute beast.
That's
You
what I
had a chance to get him and chose to trade down. Could you have imagined Jalen Carter next to Lee McNeil?
Oh my God.
Could you have imagined that?
PJ,
Just to put that in perspective.
I know, but it comes at the cost of a Jameer Gibbs and Sam Laporta, and I would rather have that.
Agreed.
In my opinion,
Yeah,
I've thought a lot about that.
But
I've
you
thought a
all
lot about
you
that.
you
And
all,
Brian Branch.
Hold
and
on,
Brian
you
Branch.
also moved up to grab a linebacker at fucking 18.
Yeah.
Hello.
No, I know that's.
And to me,
I agree.
To me, outside, I still think they could have got the Gibb thing. I don't think they needed to move down and then grab Gibb there. I think they could have took that pick that they took for Jack Campbell and grabbed Gibbs there. That's my opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. But to pass on a talent like a Jalen Carter, I get it because he didn't fit the Dan Campbell narrative.
Pull up a
Sometimes you got to eat that to get it back.
PJ brought up a really good point in the chat. The Commanders were made fun of in the offseason for bringing in a bunch of aging vets.
Guys like Bobby Wagner and
they were all
and Austin Eckler.
Bobby Wagner we wanted. So but not more so like Frankie Louvu was a good example.
Austin Eckler.
Eckler, great example.
Everybody made fun of Eckler.
And
see what he did yesterday.
These guys were all dogs. These guys were absolute dogs. And I agree. PJ said in the chat they need to bring in like seasoned vets that can contribute. Guys that can contribute. Sam just pulled up a list of prospective free agents. Run through it real quick.
T. Higgins at number 1.
I mean, would love. They don't need a receiver. Would love it, but
Trey
they don't need a receiver.
Smith.
Yeah, Trey Smith would be great. I'm not paying Trey Smith prices, but
Javon Holland.
not so much.
I'll stay away from that one. Chris Godwin.
I think he resigns.
I think so too. Khalil Mack.
No, too old.
Hey,
Here's
hey,
the
I
thing.
don't hate that.
Here's the thing. If you get him at a discount,
Right.
there's your Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu
Right.
type. You know, if you can get him for $15 million and put him opposite Aiden Hutchinson, I would love that.
Look at. Okay,
I think Khalil Mack might retire though.
I don't think Von Miller was the best guy on the field last night, but he made an instant impact. If you could get Khalil Mack here to have him play at that level, I'm good with it.
I don't think he has that level left in him. His first step is gone. You can see it.
DJ Reed.
So I would love it, but I don't know if they're going to invest in corner outside of investing draft capital. Like I think I could see a trade for corner. See if the Jets are going to move on from Sauce Gardner. The relationship is bad.
I don't think, dude. Listen to me. I like the Reed idea.
I
would have rather have Reed. You know why? He gets thrown at more.
This exercise isn't to argue. I would take either of those guys, DJ Reed or Sauce Gardner. I would take either of those guys.
Here's the thing: you got a new system coming in there in New York. We don't know where the Gardner. I don't think the Jets and Gardner are on the outs like people say. I just think they changed the defense around to not play to his strengths, where the year prior they didn't. They were also ranked in the top 5.
Amari Cooper.
No. Defensively. Yeah.
Josh Sweat.
No, unless they got some guards and centers
Did he do
in there.
anything for Philly?
Not really.
Is he even in Philly?
Who?
Yes, he's still in Philly. Josh Sweat.
Yeah, he's in Philly.
I don't hear his name much.
He's in Philly.
Hassan
He had a
Reddick.
sack.
I don't hear his name much either.
He's with the Jets.
Charvarius Ward.
Man,
They paid him a lot of money, dude.
Yeah, they did.
didn't he have a bit? I think he's going to re-sign there. San Francisco still? I think he's going to end up re-signing there.
Posted career lows on all PFF metrics.
Oh, shit.
But he was hurt this year.
Russell Douglas. Give me that. I'll take that.
I'll take that all day
He's having
long.
a good couple weeks here.
Yep. Malcolm Kuntz.
I don't know what that is.
Las
Whoa,
Vegas
whoa.
Raiders.
The defensive end,
Yes.
I would love him here. I would love to put him on that opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson.
Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah.
There's your veteran.
What do you mean? Greenlaw just got fucking hurt again.
I don't care. Bring him here.
Yeah, bring him
Bring
in.
him here.
Bring him in.
Bring him here. We'll take your battered and broken. Carlton
Josh
Davis.
Sweat had 8 sacks this year, it looks like.
Carlton Davis, Hufanga, which has been linked to us already.
The problem with Carlton Davis is that he's going to cost money. That's why I can envision a scenario. And if you let him walk, you get a draft pick. It factors into your comp for next year.
Hufanga's been linked here already.
It's not going to happen. They're not going to spend money on a safety.
Asante Samuel Jr.
No. Where is he?
I don't hate it.
Chargers.
I don't hate that.
Osa Odigizua.
Is he the linebacker?
Cowboys.
I don't know.
Yeah. Cameron Bynum. Yeah. Honest to God, there's not that much out there.
There are guys there that we're
Nick
not
Bolton.
talking about.
I would love to see Tufanga and Branch play together. That would actually.
about
be
Nick
pretty
Bolton?
Good.
Nick Bolton.
Nick Bolton. I love Nick Bolton.
I can't
Yeah,
imagine they let him
listen to
walk,
me.
though.
I can't imagine. that.
I loved him coming out of college, dude.
I can't believe they let him get to there.
Listen to me. They have Leo Chanel, and Leo Chanel's been playing really well.
How about George Karlaftis?
I like Carlos.
Absolute.
dog.
Every time I look at their defense, he's the one making plays. It's Karlaftis. Like anytime there's a
him,
big play,
Bolton, Chanel.
like you didn't even hear Chris
Mike
Jones'
Dana,
name
he runs into
anymore.
a play every now and then, and so, and
Did you freeze? We can move on.
All right. So obviously there will be some more Lions talk in the off season.
Anyway,
For now, we can let the sleeping cat lie.
so what were we talking about before we got sidetracked here?
Well, we were moving
we're
on.
talking to the other game.
We're moving on to the Philadelphia Rams game, which I love.
I thought it was a good game.
I thought it was a great game, and I
Love the
genuinely, I really thought the Rams were going to pull that out there on that last drive. I did.
Barkley was just too much for
Yeah,
them.
that's it.
I mean, let's be honest. What do the fucking Philadelphia Eagles? They're doing it the way you're supposed to do it. Play defense and run the football.
I'm letting you know right now, anything you say negatively about Philadelphia, and I'm about to say negative things about Philadelphia.
Oh, I'll be happy to lay it to them.
The TikTok right now somehow has attracted the attention of Eagles fans, and they are having a field day with us right now because we're no longer in it. But I will say, Jalen Hurts is not good, dude. He is not good.
I think he's unhealthy. I think it's whatever's ailing him is bad.
Whatever is ailing him is bad.
Like,
he was all perked out.
It's
after
not just the
game
concussion.
yesterday.
It's not just the concussion.
There's
Like,
more going
there's
on.
something
there.
off.
He did not look that great yesterday. He had a few really nice big runs, and I'll give that to him. Saquon Barkley is your offense. That's fine. It's going to get you this far. It may very well get you into New Orleans to appear in a Super Bowl. Your defense is phenomenal.
Similar to how they played the Rams, I think there's the avenue for the Eagles is if they don't fall behind.
Correct.
They should be able to win that game.
Yep.
If they have to play from behind, they are toast. They need to the Saquon, and it could work against the Commanders. It could work. You let Saquon rip. You let him go. You try and hope that they can't stop him. And I don't think the Commanders are going to stop Saquon.
No.
You try and hope the Commanders can't stop him. As long as they control the tempo and they play with the lead, they're going to have a very good shot on Sunday. If they try and do what the Lions did and they try and get in a pissing contest,
they're going to lose.
It's not good. On top of that, I don't think that this Eagles team that we've seen over the last month, I do not think it has the juice to beat the Ravens or to beat the Bills or to beat the Chiefs.
The Bills.
No, I don't think it could beat the Chiefs because the Chiefs play defense. That's how they beat you. They play defense.
Yeah, but they're not going to play the Chiefs.
Either way, I don't think that. Like I could see the Commanders beating these teams.
The Eagles could beat either one of them. You got Barkley. Barkley's a fucking.
I know, but they have to. You have to be balanced to go to the Super Bowl. You have to be
200
balanced.
yards rushing.
You have to be balanced.
Two touchdowns.
We were just bragging about the Chiefs' front seven.
I know.
Leo Chenal and Karlaftis and Jones and Bolton and how well they're playing.
Here we go again. Here we go again with you. You're getting all engorged and gooey for Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now the Lions are dead.
Did I say anything about Nick Sirianni?
Here we go. You're going to be all Eagles.
Didn't even mention his fucking name.
Eagles?
PJ
Barkley.
PJ brings up a good point in the chat. It's a glorified system. I do think when Jalen Hurts is good, I'm a lot higher on him than anyone else when he's healthy. I think Jalen Hurts is very good when he's in the zone and healthy. He's off right now. And your two big Saquon, if you take away one big Saquon run, you lose. You lose yesterday. So they need to have a little bit of they don't need the balance for this game. I don't think they need it for Sunday. But if the Eagles want a shot at the Super Bowl, they need to be more balanced.
You are not going to beat Buffalo, and you're not going to beat Kansas City with 120 yards of passing. It's not going to happen. So Jalen Hurts needs to somehow get it
together. They beat the Rams with it.
They beat the Rams with it, yes. They're not going to beat Buffalo.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I think the fucking Rams defense is better than Buffalo's.
I get that.
And I'll even go further there. I think the Rams defense is comparable to the Chiefs.
Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes in a dome?
Josh Allen or Pat
Mahomes. In a dome.
How about this one? Patty Mahomes anywhere, anytime.
Listen, I know it's tough for you, and you have a lot of Bills influence in your life. The Chiefs are the Patriots, which means that
means that there's a 10-year drought coming right now. Yes.
Maybe, but Mahomes.
Let's be honest right now. I think they're going to set a precedence. They're going to win their third straight Super Bowl. There's no stopping them.
When the lights are the biggest is when Mahomes is the best, and that's who was that?
You've seen him falling down, throw a touchdown pass.
Who was that It was Tom Brady. Tom Brady was never once was Tom Brady the most skilled quarterback in football. And you just named the most. Josh Allen. The only guy I'm taking over skill wise over Josh Allen is Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen is balling out right now. But when it matters most, Mahomes, like Brady, plays his best. They're the most prepared. They leverage their experience against other teams. They were not the better team in the Super Bowl the last 2 years, skill-wise.
Correct.
They were the experienced team, and that's what makes them them. Just like the Patriots in most of those Super Bowls were not better than the teams they beat.
Yes, but at what point? You don't understand. They can't win it forever, right? They're not. They can't win the Super Bowl for the next 10 years.
No.
So what I'm saying is,
Well, it all depends on whether Patrick Mahomes is there or not.
guess what? At the end of the day, it
Patrick
can't,
Mahomes.
right? It's
The,
not.
The drop off comes. I know what you're alluding to. The drop off comes when eventually they're going to have issues with cap hell. But they're about to shed Kelsey. They're going to shed Chris Jones at some point. They're going to shed this money, and then all of a sudden they have cap space.
How many
and draft
times?
Capital.
How many
Yeah, they
times?
got that Wharton cat. They got other guys.
How many times can Josh Allen and Sean McDermott play Kansas City and lose by a field goal?
It's gonna happen.
At some point. No, but see, this is the thing. The thing is, right? It's happened so many times. At some point, the script has to flip.
I agree.
At some
And
point,
just like when Manning eventually flipped the script, but
Correct.
you gotta be perfect.
They gotta
to
be perfect.
to beat the Chiefs in
gotta be
Kansas
perfect.
City. And I don't think the Bills were perfect yesterday.
they weren't.
I don't think they've been perfect since they
Listen,
haven't had a perfect all-around game since they
Let's-
beat Kansas City at
Let's
home.
be honest about that Buffalo game. The turnovers cost fucking Baltimore.
Yeah, and they still almost
Baltimore
won.
Still would have beat them.
And they still almost won. They're a
They
drop
would've
away.
Had the 2 turnovers, they would have beat Baltimore.
Lamar Jackson's 2 turnovers were very detrimental.
Just like Garrett,
and I'm not
Garrett
blaming
Goff's
it on him
turnovers.
because
Same
Mark.
fucking
No, the biggest
thing.
one was
The
the,
biggest
Andrews
one was
one.
the Mark Andrews
The Andrews one at the 50.
Yeah. Listen, it's the script has to flip. It has to flip.
Listen to me. Patty Mahomes going to win his 3rd Super Bowl.
If Kansas City
And-
played
and
Buffalo,
go down as the greatest quarterback in
if
the
Kansas
NFL,
City played Baltimore yesterday, they would have lost.
surpassing Tom Brady.
They would have
Yeah,
lost.
I agree. I agree. I think Kansas City would have lost to Buffalo or Baltimore. That being said, right? Like the Chiefs were shaky, and I'm not going to say they were bailed out the entire games by
They
the
were bailed out.
officiating.
Listen
Hold
to
on,
me.
hold on.
There was some god awful fucking
They
calls. In
if
that
they
game.
weren't bailed out the whole game, they were bailed out for 59 minutes.
They were
they were bailed
they were
out when
benefited
it
from
had to
calls.
be bailed out.
They were the beneficiaries of some calls. But I mean, remember they hadn't played their starters in 23 days. That's why they were sloppy.
When you have people online saying that what was happening yesterday or on Saturday with the Chiefs was by far more egregious than any of the home cooking that the Patriots and Tom Brady got, that's a
That was
problem.
bad. And credit to, I mean, I only saw the clips because I was making my way downtown, so I didn't see it.
Dude,
but
It was
Aikman was no, I saw all the bad penalties, but what Aikman I heard was saying was incredible.
Yeah.
I heard Aikman handled it perfectly and called the league out.
I am shocked that they didn't fire him.
Aikman,
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
because he was like, "This is outrageous. They need to address
He
this."
said,
And-
what's
and
the point
I'm
of
all
playing?
for it.
He said, what's the point of playing the game if 2 teams are going through 2 different sets of rules?
yeah,
And they were. They were. It was
Yeah.
blatant. I'm
agree.
not going to go there because at the end of the day, it's the Chiefs. So that's what's going to happen.
But you see this outrageousness in just about every game.
But at
It's not just that game. It's
at
not
a
just the
cer-
Chiefs.
on a certain
The
point,
Buffalo game had issues in that game.
No, I disagree with that.
I don't.
Where?
Listen, anytime,
I thought out of all weekend,
anytime a quarterback runs with the football, we see these outrageous fucking calls when these guys, when Pat Mahomes starts to run around, and then he doesn't decide to either go out of bounds or drop down to the ground till the last second, and 2 guys collide head to head, and they get a fucking penalty thrown on them. I mean, at what point do we have to say, well, you know what? The coach should be able to throw the flag on that, the red flag, and say, let's review that play.
Well, yes.
Because that
No.
play cost fucking Houston big time.
Yes, they all did. They all did. They all did. But as far as officiating goes, I thought the Baltimore Buffalo game was the best called game of the day.
Well,
You
that
did.
Philadelphia game had some fucking iffy calls in it, too.
The Philadelphia one had some iffy calls.
Yes.
The Lions game and the Buffalo game were the two
There
most
was a
even
call
killed.
against the Rams that benefited Philadelphia that led to that fucking go-ahead touchdown.
Yes.
And that they should have never had. It should have been a fucking fourth down. They should have had to punt. Hence, they don't have to. Barkley rips off fucking 70-yard run.
Listen, I watched it.
Yeah.
I watched it
So-
as a New England Patriots slappy. I watched the 10 years. I was there. I cried.
Anyway.
It was brutal. That's where the Chiefs are. Mahomes may lead another dynasty at some point.
He's getting the Michael Jordan call.
He's still in the middle of the dynasty until they lose. And if you want to say that, like you
Dynasty, the
you
dynasty
can't
ends
say it until they. Oh, fair,
All right.
fair,
Dynasty ends Sunday.
That's your opinion.
fair.
And guess
The road
what?
to the Super Bowl goes through Kansas City.
It does. But I'm telling
Literally.
you, it's done.
goes through Kansas City.
It's done. This has got. It's got
Not
to.
done. It's not done.
Okay.
Every time
Outside.
Patty Mahomes has faced Josh Allen, he's won.
Can I? That's so you. If this is the case, and there's no sort of factual information in what you're seeing on the field translating to them winning, the only thing you're going off of is that you think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback to ever play the game,
Yes.
and no matter what he does, he will will them to win.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's something. It's like watching you didn't watch the Patriots under this lens because you probably thought they were the best team every time and they had the best quarterback every time. I'm a Michigan grad that will tell you right now that Tom Brady is not the most skilled quarterback of all time. What made him the GOAT is because they had this mental edge when they got to a certain point in their seasons. They were able to do the rope-a-dope like the Chiefs
Hold
do.
on, dude. They played in the shittiest conference for over a decade.
Division, and so did the Chiefs. That's what I'm trying to- that's what I'm trying to
Over
tell
a
you.
fucking decade.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
So did the
They were able to rope a dope
15
their way
years.
through the years.
So did
Through the years.
They,
and then when
they
this
played
time
in
of
the
year
shit
comes,
division for 15 years.
they have the staff and the coaches to turn up the gas, and they're ready to go
Yeah.
every time. They're ready
The
to
only
play.
difference is now is because Kansas City's going to have to deal with two teams that are up and coming now. That's going to be an issue for them going next year.
I'm pretty sure there was a
I think Denver's going to get a lot better. I think the Chargers are going to get a lot better. So their little walkthrough that they've been doing every year kind of fucking stops after this year.
correct. Just like when the Jets got good and won the division back-to-back years, the Patriots were wild card teams.
It didn't matter because they still won.
Right.
As
But
long as they didn't have to play Eli Manning.
this is it. This is the circle. This is the day. Sunday's the day. Did we miss anything?
I know we kind of blurred those other three games.
Yeah, it
together,
was just
but-
it was a hodgepodge.
You know what it is, what it is. What are you going to say? Okay. So now, Washington, let's take a little trip to Philadelphia.
Goes to Philly, and Buffalo
Okay.
goes to KC.
I think
Buffalo
there's going
goes
to
to
be.
KC.
Hold on. I think there's going to be a lot of Commanders fans.
Oh,
at
yeah.
that game Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good amount of that building because that fan base. Bruce, how prevalent was that fan base on Sunday or Saturday?
Very, very bad.
And
You hear them fucking chanting.
and they were annoying. They were like us on the road. They were very annoying.
Listen,
they're
I go
great.
back to the
They're great
days-
fans.
They were
I go back to the days where you had the big 400-pound white dude dressed up as in a dress with a fucking pig nose on. You don't remember that? The Hogs?
The what?
No, I
The
don't.
Hogs.
I don't.
The Washington fan base, they were called the Hogs. And there was a bunch of big 400-pound beer-drinking assholes that had fucking dresses on with pig noses. And they were called the Hogs.
I don't remember.
You don't remember that? There's my fun fact of the day.
There's your fun fact. of
The
day.
Hogs were actually the offensive linemen. Joe Jacoby, Russ Grimm. These guys were the premier offensive line back in the 80s when John Riggins was running for touchdowns and they were winning Super Bowls.
So, even though 95% of the country doesn't care, there's a college football championship game tonight.
Okay, good luck with that. Ohio State.
It
against
gets
Notre
worse,
Dame.
Lions fans. You lost Saturday. You lost Ben Johnson today, and Ohio State's going to win a national champ. And if it's not Ohio State, it's Notre Dame. So it's lose-lose no matter who wins tonight.
One, do you care
What's that?
about this game?
I would love to see Notre Dame punch Ryan Day in the mouth because I hate Ryan Day.
You want to hear something crazy about this
What?
game?
What?
I think the ratings, just because Michigan blew everyone in the ratings away last year, I think the ratings for tonight are going to be lower. The get-in ticket price for this game is the highest ever for that game.
Yeah.
Because those
Or the
fan
playoff
bases
game.
are rabid.
Yeah.
Rabid fan bases. Like the get-in price is
I just hope
3,000.
that it's a good game. I like I said, I hope Notre Dame wins because I don't like Ryan Day or his face. With
They're
his
8.5 point
with his little
dogs.
dyed fucking beard. You look ridiculous. Let it go.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Who cares?
Exactly.
You want to know why I think nobody cares? Is because you have probably the two most hateable teams in college football playing for national.
Well,
championship.
here's the bad part of it. A couple of guys on each of these teams could be Lions next year, so I'm not going to go there. By the way,
Jack Sawyer.
Jack Sawyer. Real nice.
You're welcome to come here. And honestly, Tui Molowau wants to come here. Denzel Ward, you guys are all welcome.
Yeah.
I welcome
Hey,
any Buckeyes
hey,
defenders.
Hey, I'll take some of that secondary that Notre Dame has, dude.
Yeah, those guys.
Listen
are
to me.
dogs.
They got two
Those guys are
safeties
dogs.
there that are very good. Very good.
I think that was a good therapy session.
Okay.
I think it was a very nice therapy session. We'll be back Friday.
Yep.
Because we got pick these two games and break down both conference championships, and then after that we have a Super Bowl. Oh, the Jaguars interviewed Robert Saleh today for our head coaching position.
Thank God. I hope he takes it.
It sounds like, and he's a serious candidate, by the way. But it sounds like if he doesn't land that he's going to have a good shot at his old job, which is DC of the Niners. That's where he'll probably end up. He'll be the Niners defensive coordinator.
Good for him. Good luck, Robbie. Go ahead.
Anything to add, Zolo?
No, we will talk more adequately about the Lions as the dust settles and we know more, and whatever coaches are gone, and whatever replacements are replaced. You know, we'll have free agency within 6 weeks from now. We could start looking at mock drafts, unfortunately. But no, nothing to add in the short term. Got to let the chips fall. Got to let the dust settle.
Jack Sawyer.
I mean, if you told me today that the Lions were going to end up with Jack Sawyer, the only player in college football I would take over him is Abdul Carter at Penn State.
Yeah, it's not happening. We're
and
not
that's not
thinking
happening.
Top five.
And that's not happening. And I think Jack Sawyer opposite Aiden Hutchinson could be a really good deal. But that's a story for another time.
Uncle Sam, do you have anything to add today?
Goodbye, Ben Johnson. Goodbye.
Bruce?
In Mahomes, in Mahomes, we trust.
Yeah,
Patty
Cam,
Mahomes.
we're glad. Shout out to, we don't play politics, but shout out to President Trump. We went offline Friday. We lost TikTok on Saturday, and we're back today because instantly TikTok came back online on Sunday. We're happy to be on TikTok. We're hoping to have a bigger presence on TikTok going forward and focus on it a little more. So yes, thank you for being
Yeah,
back.
and we have a TikTok shop where you can buy some stuff. So
That's
go check
right.
That out.
That's right.
Now,
Drill, baby, drill.
Drill, baby, drill. With that being said, hey, everybody who joined us today, even though this was a group therapy session, and I'm glad that we were all here. We appreciate every single one of you that joined us, interacted with us on YouTube and or TikTok. If you haven't yet, follow us across all the platforms, Instagram and Twitter's at TipBalls. I was tweeting about how Tony Romo is a complete and utter boob last night because that's exactly what he is. He was awful. Horrendous. I hate him. So you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on TikTok at TipBalls Podcast.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Who do you like better, Tony Romo or Chris Collinsworth?
Collinsworth.
God, that's like two evils, but I think I would take Collinsworth. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back Friday to pick the championship games.